lot of people took it, and a lot of people feel their lives have been saved by it. Now we have this measles outbreak, biggest in a decade in Texas, and it's because people aren't getting their children vaccinated. Do you recommend to parents that they get their children vaccinated for measles?
Well, I recommend the governors to make the decisions. You have a very talented governor of Texas, and he's making decisions, and those decisions are going to be made rapidly. This is a very much different thing than COVID in terms of rapidity and speed and other things. Measles have been with us a long time, and I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that the governors are making the decision. It's a federalist decision.
The president is our leader in so many ways, and your voice counts so much, and you can't tell moms and dads, it's a good thing to get a measles vaccine.
Do I recommend it?
Yes.
Yes, I do. I
Okay.
recommend it, yeah.
Got it. That was my
Do I
question.
mandate it? No.
No, I didn't.
But I do recommend it, yes.
Good. Do you think
And I have recommended it.
Do you think the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has a history of, at the very least, vaccine skepticism, do you think Kennedy recommends the measles vaccine?
He did. He recommended it. Yeah, he did.
You satisfied with his response on this?
Recommended that they go out and get the vaccine.
So Trump is bragging that his administration saved $150 billion through spending cuts. Sounds impressive, right? Until you hear what exactly got cut. Foreign aid programs that literally keep people alive. Life-saving medical research at NIH on cancer, Alzheimer's, and other critical illnesses. Vaccination campaigns in vulnerable communities. So what's the message here? That cutting programs that save lives is somehow a win, as long as it saves money? Let's be clear, wasteful government spending is real, but that's not what this is. This is about ideological cuts, the kind that disproportionately hurt poor families, developing countries, and yes, Black and brown communities, both at home and abroad. And then the conversation shifts to vaccines. Now, remember, Trump brags about Operation Warp Speed, says it was one of the greatest achievements of his presidency. But when asked if he will clearly recommend the measles vaccine amidst the worst outbreak in a decade, he punts. I recommend the governors make the decision. My people, measles is one of the most contagious and preventable diseases in the world. It's not a political football. It's a public health emergency. And yet Trump dances around it. Why? Because he's not leading. He's calculating. He doesn't want to upset his base, especially the anti-vax crowd. So even when children's lives are on the line, he says, yes, I recommend it, but I don't mandate it. This is the same man whose administration cut global health programs, defunded medical research, rolled back science budgets, and then politicized public health messaging at every turn. And the result is what we're seeing: more outbreaks, more confusion, and more people left vulnerable. Not because the science wasn't there, but because the leadership wasn't. And here comes the part that should make every one of us pause.
I'll talk a little bit about presidential power, the powers that you have in the presidency temporarily that the American people have given you, right? You've revoked a lot of people's security clearances. You've revoked people's security details who are still threatened, with death threats. You've gone after law firms because they've employed people you don't like, or they have represented people
Well,
you
they
don't
obviously agreed because they paid me a lot of money.
Well, the reason they agreed is because you were threatening to destroy their business with your executive order that said you can't represent clients for the federal government. That's their bread and butter.
Boys. These are the biggest, most powerful lawyers. These are not people
you got a lot of leverage
that are
as
easily
president.
intimidated.
As president, you've got all the cards.
They paid hundreds of millions of dollars because they felt, I guess, they probably felt they did something wrong.
It was for survival, sir.
No, it isn't.
You were crushing their business.
These firms are very powerful firms, and there's 15 of them. And these are firms that probably, look, you have to ask them. In fact, this is a separate story. You have to ask them, why did you all pay Trump hundreds of millions of dollars in services, etc. Why did you do that? I don't know.
You don't think the fact
we have
that-
a clause in the thing that while we admit no wrongdoing, but it's like one of those things. And now I'm friendly with those firms, but it's these are the most powerful firms in the world, and they just signed whatever I put in front of them. I've never seen anything like it. I'm actually surprised myself in a certain way, but they obviously felt they probably did something wrong. I guess that's why they signed.
I guess the question out of that is the concern that people have. Are you using your powers as president to get personal revenge?
No, I'll tell you what. You're really not asking, and you should be asking. There has never been a president in this country, in the history, that was persecuted like I was persecuted by really crooked people, dishonest, horrible people, and it's been proven. So when you say I'm treating people rough, I'm not treating people rough. I was treated worse than any president in the history of our country. And, people figured, well, maybe that's it. Finally, we got, he's leaving town. There goes the helicopter. And then I came back. And I came back because I have tremendous support. When you win an election like I won it, and you will admit I won all 7 swing states, I won the popular vote, I won 2,750 districts compared to 500 districts. That's why the map is all red. And those people feel that I was treated unfairly.
But does that give you the right to go after your political opponents with the powers of this office?
I'm going after, all I'm doing, hey, Biden did something to me, and I did something to Biden. And you know why I did it? Because he's grossly incompetent. That's not a man that should be allowed to, be looking at things that are very confidential.
But what about,
because he
there's
didn't,
71
here's
people
a man
you
that
revoked
used
it.
an auto pen to sign very important documents. Now, who really do you think he knew that they were using an auto pen? I mean, he used an auto pen to sign very, very important documents. And so those are really the questions you should be asking. What do you think of the auto pen? Who wielded the auto pen? Because whoever that person was, think of it, whoever the person that wielded the auto pen, he was really the president of the United States. Because
You are
I
the
don't
president,
think,
right.
I don't think that Biden knew anything about it.
Fair enough. But you are the president now, and
Yeah.
I'm asking the justification for going after people you don't like.
No.
That
People
is
that
it.
I think are dishonest. It's not that I don't even know most of them. They're people that I
These
think
people
are
made you
dishonest.
angry.
No, it's not anger. These are people that I think are very dishonest. I don't think they're worthy of being able to go into top secret information. I think that's fine. And Biden did that with many of our people. But when you look at it, these are people that I don't think are worthy. That's my decision. It's not a question of anger.
Okay. I understand you just had a phone call with the new Canadian premier, and they just had this election.
Yeah.
You were a big issue in it, and Canadians, many of them, are really angry, furious about your talk about we're going to take over Canada, it's going to become the 51st
That's
state.
their prerogative.
And it kind of is of a piece. A lot of travel is down into the United States from around the world. It
We're doing
feels
great.
like there's been reputational
The country's
damage.
doing great.
Well,
Prices are down.
not the tourism.
Gasoline's down. Energy's down. Tourism is going to be way up. Wait till you see the numbers. The tourism is way up.
Not now.
Now Canada, tourism's doing very well. We're doing very well. We're doing very well. Wait till you see the real numbers come out in 6 months from now. Wait till you see the numbers.
But do you
They're gonna
think,
be
I'm going to
very
ask you,
good.
if I may, do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across a stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst, I have to be honest with you.
Now, this is what you call a flat out confession. Trump was asked a very basic question. Are you using the powers of the presidency to get revenge? And his answer? They paid me a lot of money. They thought they did something wrong. They signed whatever I put in front of them. Yo, that's not leadership. That's coercion. That's power used not to protect democracy, but to punish enemies. This isn't just about revoking security clearances or cutting access. It's about a worldview that sees public office not as a responsibility, but as a weapon. And then came the deflection. I was persecuted like no other president. Really, truly, Mr. President. But that's the justification. That's the whole game. Play victim, then strike back and call it justice. But here's the danger here. Once you normalize revenge politics, you erode the very foundation of democracy. Because who decides who's worthy of security clearances, of due process, of being targeted by executive orders? Apparently, it's just a matter of who made Trump angry. And let's talk about how dangerous that is. Because this playbook, this idea that I alone can fix it while silencing dissent and punishing critics, is how authoritarianism begins. And it never ends with your political opponents. It always trickles down to the media, to the activists, to the organizers, to the marginalized, to us. And this is especially chilling for Black communities because we've lived this script before. FBI targeting civil rights leaders, surveillance of Black organizers, immigration raids without due process, and political enemies labeled as threats to national security. And just when you think it couldn't get more absurd, he pivots to Canada. Yes, Canada brags about calling the Canadian premier after joking that the US should take over the country, calls it a joke, then shrugs off global reputational damage like it's just a hiccup in the data. But let's be clear, global trust matters, especially for a superpower. And so does presidential restraint. Because once that line is crossed, there's no telling where it stops. So the question isn't just about Trump, it's about us. Are we okay with the president using the Oval Office like a personal courtroom, a payback booth, a score settling arena? Because the more we normalize this, the more dangerous the precedent we're setting for the next leader who walks in that door. And then he hits him with a big question at the end here.
Thank you for having us here. I have one more question. It's a big one. It's a question that you know a lot of people have out there. What do you say to people who are concerned you are seizing too much power and becoming an authoritarian president like we haven't had before?
No, I would hate them to think that. I'm doing one thing. I'm making America great again. We have a country that was failing. We have a country that was left at all over the world. We had a leader that was grossly incompetent. He should have never been there. The election was rigged. He should have never been there. Our country suffered greatly, and now our country's coming back like nobody can believe. I have editorials just today where they're saying they've never seen anything like it. They love it. Our country's coming back, and we're respected again.
Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Terry, very much.
The last question, the one everyone's thinking, but few are bold enough to ask. Are you becoming an authoritarian? And what does Trump say? No, I would hate them to think that. No, I'm just making America great again. Now, that's not a denial. That's not a defense grounded in democracy, checks and balances, or constitutional restraint. That's a rebrand. He's not taking power for himself. He's saving the country. He's not consolidating authority. He's fixing what was broken. He's not bypassing law. He's just doing what needs to be done. This is the classic strongman script. Wrap authoritarian power in nationalist language, scapegoat your enemies, and claim to be the only one who can fix it. And if you question it, you're anti-patriotic, you're ungrateful, you're part of the problem. Let me be clear, democracy dies this way, one excuse at a time. And what's most chilling is not just what Trump says. It's how many people are actually cheering him on. How many are ready to trade freedom for a false sense of control? How many are okay watching the tools of power weaponized because they think it won't affect them? But history tells us it always does. So we've got a choice to make. Do we keep falling for the performance, clapping while the institutions around us literally crumble? Or do we finally start asking the hard questions, not just about Trump, but about the system that keeps enabling this? Because here's the truth. Authoritarianism doesn't announce itself with tanks in the streets. It walks in smiling, waving a flag and saying, "Don't worry, I've got this." So where do we go from here, my people? Let's step back for a second. In just 100 days, President Trump has rewritten immigration policy with sweeping deportations that ignore due process, gutted funding for HBCUs, Black museums, and key public health programs, pushed tariffs that have caused a global economic crisis, threatened to use presidential power for personal vendettas, removed a photo of the first Black president from the Oval Office and replaced it with himself under fire after a failed assassination attempt. And somehow we're supposed to believe that this is about unity, about making America great again. Let's be honest. This isn't just about policy. It's about power and who gets to hold it, who gets erased, who gets targeted, and who gets protected. Because if this is what the first 100 days look like, what happens in the next 100? What happens in year 2, 3, 4? Is the worst yet to come? And how do we use our voice to stop it from getting there? That's the question we need to be asking, not just as voters, but as citizens. Because democracy isn't just what happens at the ballot box. It's what we're willing to fight for after the votes are counted. And if we've learned anything from this show, The Breakdown, it's that silence is not an option. It can't be an option. But here's the part they always forget. When we are pushed to the margins, we don't disappear. We organize. We built HBCUs when we were barred from classrooms. We sparked the Harlem Renaissance when they tried to erase our art. Remember? We launched independence movements in Ghana, Jamaica, Kenya, and beyond when colonial powers told us we'd never be ready. And now it's time again, my people. Because what Trump is doing right now isn't just about policy. It's a playbook for erasing progress globally. But we have our own blueprint, a global Black community that refuses to be erased. So now I want to hear from you. What's the one thing that stood out to you the most in Trump's first 100 days? And what are you most concerned about as we move forward?